Alright, so you finally got your car dyno tuned. You spent a bunch of money on it, you modified your ECU. In this video, I'm going to go over some of the downsides to modifying your ECU. So this car, the entire time I've owned it, which we're getting close to 17 years, 18 years I think it is now. This is a 2005 G35. I've done all the maintenance on it my entire self. Put a clutch in it, brakes, alternator, starter, fuel pump, you name it, every single thing I've done. So when I got I couldn't find the ECU when the car died. I thought I had a short. And anybody that's ever worked on cars, a short is a nightmare, trying to find a short. And the reason I'm saying this is because every place I went to, I actually finally gave up. Even though I ended up figuring out what the issue was, I gave up. So I went to shops that, you know, first time in my life, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna find and let a professional do this. I'm tired of searching for where a rodent ate a wire, because I let this car sit for 4 months in storage in Phoenix on my move to San Diego, California. And usually whenever you let a car sit, there's always an issue with it, and there is. As soon as I let this thing sit for 4 months, yes, the battery was disconnected. I connected the battery to bring it back over to California. When I connected the battery, it immediately threw a P1065 code. And I thought, well, the car is running perfectly fine. It should be okay. So it was. I looked up what the P1065 is. It says the ECU has a short. Well, I read somewhere that if it's sat for a long time, the internal battery inside this ECU will actually, the RAM in it, which is, it's not a battery, it's your RAM. It's just like in your computer, random access memory. It'll die, and that throws that code because the ECU isn't communicating at all. And that's all it was. So I went ahead and drove it from Phoenix over to San Diego. When I got to San Diego, that's when it died on me, and it threw no codes at all. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And every place I went to, a shop or wherever I went, they said, well, a rat had to nibble on a wire. Rats love nibbling on wires. I don't know what the big kick is, if they get high or something, nibbling on some electronics, but I guess that's a common thing, is rats nibbling on wires. And what I was worried about, and since I couldn't find it, I started pulling out my entire wiring harness, looking everywhere to see if there was a break in it, because all it needs is the wire has to have a little bit of metal exposed on the wire, and then it touches metal, and that creates a short. And I thought that's what shorted out my ECU. So every shop I talked to, I told them about what had happened, and then I got to the point where I was like, well, can you test my ECU, or can you work on the car? I told them it was dyno tuned, and it actually had a modified ECU. Every single shop, when I told them I had a modified ECU, they said, hey, we actually can't touch your car at all. So I'm making this video because you spend all that money, you finally get your car dyno tuned, and then you run into something and something goes wrong with it. I find it unbelievable that when something does go wrong with it, and the shops find out you did mods to actually be calibrated in the ECU, so the ECU, the computer picks up the mods in your car, they're not able to touch it all. Every single shop said, oh, you modified your ECU? Oh, I'm so sorry. Unfortunately, we can't help you at all. So I'm just making this quick little video just to tell you guys there are some downfalls to tuning your car. Some of the commenters thought, since my battery had been disconnected so long, that the tune just went away and the car didn't recognize the tune anymore. Well, that's not true. The tune's always going to be in here. It'll be perfectly fine. That's just what I wanted to go over. Let you guys know a couple issues that when you do start modifying your car, especially if you do tune it, once you tell a shop that your ECU's been modified, they won't touch your car due to, I don't know if it's liability issues or what it is. Each shop, I went through the whole story of telling them why my car was dying and what was happening. As soon as I told them it had been dyno tuned, they go, "Oop, oh, you've modified your ECU. Hey, I'm sorry, we can't touch it." So I've never had to take my car to a shop. I ended up being able to fix it from your guys' help, saying the aftermarket coil packs might have been the issue. And it is. Those aftermarket coil packs, The only reason I run with them is because they're free from O'Reilly's, right? The first time I replaced them, I had no check engine light and it was just randomly dying. I thought, oh, maybe I got a bad batch of coil packs. So I went in, got all brand new 6 ones for free. It lasted 4 years, and this is what happened. This time, instead of just randomly dying, it was blowing my ECU fuse, making me think my ECU was fried. So that's what you get for going aftermarket on coil packs, and that's the lesson I learned. Because I really thought, I went through a lot of headache and trouble trying to figure this out. I mean, it took a couple months, man, just because I had my other car I'm driving, and this car wasn't a priority, but I wanted my G fixed. I miss my baby. I mean, look at her. She got those reflective wrap calipers. I mean, looking good. 2-piece rotors. She is a pleasure to drive. So anyways, thought I'd tell you guys some of the downfalls of having a modified car, especially when you modify the ECU. What things you might have to look forward to is if something goes wrong and you try to take it to a shop, you're actually going to run into the same issue I had, that no one would actually work on it, which I thought was bizarre.